Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon's Bespoke.
This is Manhood. Thank you for joining us once again, as we always aim to be better as brothers. And I know I say it periodically, and I'm going to say it again here today. We're not speaking on behalf of all men. We are a few men speaking to all men and women, because we realize that the audience is now expanded, which is a really good thing, because even though we're speaking directly to all men, I'm really happy to know that women are also taking heed of the messaging that we're trying to put out there, so that we're all able to kumbaya, as they say. And we're all part of a team, hence the topic today. Teamwork makes the dream work. And an important thing to note is a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So the stronger the team, the stronger the results. So without further ado, let me get straight into it. To my right, Johanse Audike, Behavior Change Consultant. To his right, Nirad Tewarie, Amcham CEO, Jablate Head, and so many other roles that he plays in Trinidad and Tobago. And to his right, I don't even know if I need to continue to introduce this guy, Niall McNish. I'm going to call you content creator today. How about that? Content creator, creative.
I'll take it.
Let me go provocateur, yeah? Right. So we're going straight into it. Teamwork makes the dream work, guys. Nothing happens without a team. It's just whether or not persons, no matter the height of their career or at the low point of a career, recognizes that the importance of that teamwork.
I disagree with you. He said nothing happens without a team. I don't think that's true. Something could happen, but more could happen with a team.
Well, you know me and my quotes, and there's another African proverb. There's another African proverb where it states that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far,
go together.
Okay.
So something could still happen. So I just want to put out there, something could still happen.
But if we go down the road, I mean, I wasn't ready for the semantics so early. He just brap and then just take on. But if we are to delve, that's the whole point of the show. If we are to delve really deep into it, I was expecting some of that really from Nirad, right? Okay. But it came from Johanse. So I got I was gonna call a cricket term there, but it just kind of slipped me. But no pun intended, slips. But we're coming back to the fact that teamwork makes the dream work. And I'm saying that even if you think that you're going alone, even to get there took a team. So even if you say, I'm going alone to run in an Olympics or a Diamond League, whatever you're doing, took a team at some point, whether you have accepted that or not, in some part to get you there, whether it be from school.
I think the point Johanse is making is you wouldn't be in an Olympics or a Diamond League without a team.
Right.
You could still run in track meets somewhere, but you probably wouldn't get to an Olympics or Diamond League without a team. But something will happen, which is that you learn you're either not good enough or you need a team when you go alone.
Or both. Because you can have a team and still be not good enough. Depends on what you want.
But you definitely cannot make an Olympics and a Diamond League without a team.
Agreed. So, gents, teamwork makes the dream work.
Initially, I would say I agree, because, again, what I was saying before is I know people could do something alone. You could do things alone, right? But if you really want to reach far, and even as you also saying is, to reach there, even though you might be performing alone or people might see you alone and have so many things behind the scene, correct, right? Even as a child, your parents is a team, your extended family is part of the team, right? Even if somebody's contribution, let's give an example, is you go by granny and they get food, right? That in some way helped build you in terms of moving forward. And then as you grow up, one thing for me is I always like to see a well-oiled team and be part of a well-oiled team. And I know it have the opposite too. Okay, being a team, well, not really, but a well-oiled team. And I remember as a youth, if you're talking about
just
sport,
this well-oiled, and not the phraseology I'd want to use, but
I like it, right? Well-oiled, right? Watching Brazil play when I was a child, and I remember seeing Ronaldo and Romario play, right? And I remember saying, but I don't know, sometimes it seemed like they were telepathic, right? And I was like, not just sport, but it would be great to be part of a team where we don't even have to speak now. We just know each other, what is going on, and accomplish a goal.
So you know what? Something I learned the other day. So as I explore football and my role in football, I'm trying to learn and read and listen to things that are emerging. I mean, so for example, I see that, next season they're going to have balls with technology to know when players touch the ball, to be able to make better offside decisions, because you're offside at the point at which the ball is last played by your teammate, right? But one of the things I learned, and Robert, you said that a team is only as strong as its weakest link. It is, with a caveat. The caveat is that even if a link is broken, you can fix a chain. So a team will only be successful and well-oiled if there is trust that you could make mistakes, possibly even catastrophic mistakes, and still have the opportunity to contribute to the team and be welcomed by the team. Not indefinitely, and not if you keep making the same mistakes, but you have to have what I've learned in my Amcham role is psychological safety. Right? So you have to, even as you talk here and we talk as men, you're not going to share if you don't feel psychologically safe. You're not going to come and chat with your friends or your colleagues about something you think they're going to go back to work and make fun of you about or spread your business, right? So the fact that I learned is that you have a better chance of improving your team if you could improve your weakest player by 10% than if you could improve your best player by 20%.
Say that again. That was pretty deep.
You could, in football, you have a better chance of good results over the course of a season if you could improve your weakest players by a smaller margin than improving your best players by a bigger margin.
Real interesting,
Yeah, I'm trying to dissect that.
Think about it. Look, we just played USA, right? Soca Warriors just played USA, and I challenge anybody to count 5 sequences where we made 5 passes in a row.
We didn't.
Right? If we had a midfielder who was connecting those passes for us in that match, I'm not saying they don't do it in other matches. Molino is a fantastic player, right? St. Hilaire's coming and he's doing well, but if we had a player who was doing that for us in that match, how much better would we have been than if even if Levi had played and was up top? Because he wouldn't have gotten the ball if it was breaking down, bringing it out from the back.
Or a better central defender at that point. But we're not going to be dissecting that much. We're moving on, and we're certainly hopeful to move out to the Gold Cup.
Is, how a bamboo tree does grow. Right, you all know that a bamboo tree, it spends most of its time growing the roots first. So you wouldn't see the tree growing itself, but all the roots growing at the bottom, and then the top would grow. So that's why even when it's swaying in the wind, it will never uproot most times and fall out. So thinking about that, if you improve the weakest person, call that the roots. Right, and if we use the football analogy, I mean midfield is kind of in the middle there, the central core. If the midfield not working, nothing not really working. So if we improve the weakest player, so whether we're talking about sports now, or even a family or organization or anything, that quote unquote weakest person, if we improve them, then the base becomes more solid, and then everything could move forward. So I could see what you're saying.
I'd like to get the dictionary meaning at some point as to what is understood by teams. So now you could probably look up that, because when I say a team's as strong as its weakest link, and you mentioned about you can go alone in certain circumstances, you mightn't go far, but you'll certainly go somewhere. I want us to
including backward, right?
Including backward. Is also there's a wider team, and probably even so an invisible team that you mightn't acknowledge, but it still exists. So, for example, as I'm speaking about, you may refer to that runner who goes to a track meet and he thinks he goes by himself, but the parents, if he took a taxi or if he got into a car, I'm just thinking that There's an effort
The first coach who made him believe in, or her made that person believe in themselves.
So there's an effort, or there's an immediate team, one that you might acknowledge, like a team around you, but then there's a wider team, whether acknowledged or not, exists. And if they weren't doing a part, whether specifically to you or not, things may or may not work out for you. But I want to come back to your role specifically, Nirad, with regards to what you do at Hillview, what you do at Jablata, and how you've taken, especially at Jablata, where what you're bringing about is more than football. There's a bigger vision at play.
Well, so first of all, especially in this context, I cannot say what I am bringing about. I am hoping to catalyze the team. Jablata will be 52, we're in our 52nd year of operation, and it wouldn't be here today without a massive team and a lot of effort that went into building the club over the years. And I would not be here talking about Jablata's success in the last year and a little bit that I've been there, if I were trying to do that alone. There's a team of people. There's Philip Fraser, who's our general manager. There's Jerry Hospitalis, who would have been the chairman prior to me and really built the club. There's Stephen Clark, a teacher at Samoa North, who manages our youth program. They're all our coaches. And the effort that they put in is not a financial incentive, right? It is about trying to do something bigger. So absolutely, this is not about Nirad and Jablata. Hopefully I could provide some guidance, some catalyzing and some access to resources that would enable the success of the team. And of course, all of the people playing sports, all of the boys in particular, and the women in netball. Judith Hospitalis has been running that netball program as its own thing, fundraising, keeping the women together, and so on. And men, because we have men playing netball too. We play in men's tournaments and mixed tournaments of netball as well. And that I just called about 5 names, and I left out about 24 people who probably I should have called, right?
But to the audience, they don't know, they mightn't know any of these names, and that's why I want to kind of bring it back to as much as I appreciate what's happening as a team.
So what we're trying to do, what Jablata has always been and will always be, is a community-based club, a grassroots club. We do not charge kids to come and learn to play and to improve their craft. So we rely on sponsorship, begging, what we could afford from our pockets, etc. Right? But what we're trying to do, what our vision is, once we can stabilize the club over the next year or two, in terms of being able to compete in competitions and have a steady stream of players, make sure we take care of our professional players properly, make sure the youths have equipment, have boots when they need it, have traveling money. That's what we do. I mean, when they come and train, we have what we call players' welfare, all kind of thing to make sure kids could get home and so on. Is build a real sports academy in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And an academy would be starting with academic and vocational support so that the people who come through Jablata have skills in addition to the sports. You know, I was talking to a teacher friend of mine yesterday. He grew up in Mova and teaches in Mova now. And he was telling me, you know, can you imagine how it must feel coming to school to do the thing that you're weakest at day after day? So what is the incentive? What is the incentive to come to school? So you may be the most skillful artist, painter, spoken word artist, but you come to school and have to be judged on math and chemistry and biology. That's not right. So we have to find a way through different community organizations to be able, and I mean more broadly, curriculum change and schools that are different in that approach education differently, I should say, right? On a wider level. But I am not in a place and a position of power to do that. I can only do what I can do. And what I can do is certainly not nothing. So what we are trying to do, and I'm going back to the we because this is not just me at Jablata.
Teamwork.
Right? Is build stabilize the club and then build the club into something that would allow young people to come and excel at what they're good at, but also have a plan B and realize that the things that they think they're not good at, they might actually be good at. And when you add different elements to the learning curriculum, so for example, I want to add graphics and video production as part of the learning. Then we could have a Jablote company doing video production. Maybe we'll be shooting the show one day, right? For you guys.
Yeah.
And they could be out there making videos for all the players around, selling those services, all those players who want to have a video to go and send it to scouts and universities and that kind of thing. It's not rocket science, and people have done it before. It's not novel ideas. But we have to find a way to make it happen and to implement it and to put things in place so that we can get it done. And that's what we're really trying to do.
And hopefully...
sorry, last point on that, right? If you look at all of the research that is done by all these international organizations that talk about community development and national development and so on, the more resilient your communities are, and by resilient, it means more connected, the more your country can progress and withstand disasters. So in a flood, in an earthquake, in any kind of civil unrest, anything, if the community is together, we will look out for one another and we will protect one another. And we wouldn't study, I want the 100 loaves of bread, but have people starving out there. I will look out and I will share, and we will find a way to get out of this together. And that is part of what these what might seem like little sporting or cultural organizations do. They are the stickiness in communities. And if we can help them develop, right, then we can do more. And the big catalyst for me, I didn't think about it before I came on the show, but I have thought about it in the past. Is one day I read a piece by Noble Philip in Wired, Noble Philip from MFO. And he was talking about what Lasana and Sheppy are doing at Arima North and how they were involved in a renaissance of Arima that had dropped from the top tier of football to championship, and they brought them back up. And, you know, he was talking about how in the past, people from society's perspective, people like me, would be involved in sports clubs and would be involved in community activities, and how we've backed away. And that hit me hard. That hit me personally hard. It made me feel...
Why? Why did you?
Because I wasn't doing it. I wasn't involved. And so I felt like I was shirking some of my responsibility. Because I was taking care of my kids as best as I could, failing in many ways, but trying my best. But there are all these other kids who maybe with a little time and effort, if I put into, I could help. And so I got involved in Hillview. It was the term after COVID, and they hadn't registered for the SSFL season. And I was like, nah, like these kids, these boys need something to do. And we thought we'd have, 15, 20 boys. Hillview's not a football. Was not a
Yeah,
football.
that's what I'm saying.
Was not a football school.
Right? You been shaking it.
Yeah, was not. I got involved, and we started with a little group, and we played with that group in the Republic Cup in all age groups in 2023, and we were last in all of the categories, right? We get roasted in the Republic Cup, but we saw improvement over the course of the tournament, and that season, the next season, we were competitive. We won the seniors division in the East Zone, so we got promoted to championship. We got to the semi-finals of both the knockout and the knockout competition with the under-14s and the under-16s. And this season, we won the East Zone in the championship division, and we won the East Zone in the under-16 division.
So,
right? So.
We need to take a break. I notice my colleagues, we don't take heed of time, but just before we go to break, just very quickly, let me know what do you believe in a very short space of time it was the catalyst for that success?
Teamwork. So we had two principals of the school who were willing to support us. We had a parent body that was willing to support us, and we had a head coach and some key, the assistant manager and some key people. The head coach and I would have started this. We worked together before. He used to coach both of my sons actually before that, and we found a way to create an environment, and we brought in other coaches. We had so our head coach is Jeremy McMayo at Hillview. Our assistant coach is Joanne Baltazar, who is a TTPFL champion with Defence Force and so on, national futsal player, and so on. And we were able to create an environment that bred success. But of course, the boys put in a lot of work. Parents sacrificed a lot. We had to convince parents, yes, academics and football, Hillview's academics first, right? Mm-hmm. So you had to beg parents to let them spend a little more time on football than they might have been comfortable with, and so on and so forth. But it is not something that one person could do alone.
So the importance there of teamwork. So teamwork makes the dream work. We are taking a short break. We're certainly going to dive a lot deeper into this topic and dissect it and ventilate a lot more, as I'm sure everyone has some opinions on that. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Welcome back to Manhood. We're talking about the teamwork makes the dream work. And I know I was going on about Hillview and Jablotay, and I thank you all for the opportunity. But it is something that I get passionate about, kind of like when Robert starts to speak to the kids about the rules on Make Your Point and so on. But
but here's my main thing. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? And we're talking about teams, and I get that. But you see the dream work part? That's what really, for me, who I would consider myself a loner the majority of the time. That's what gets ticklish for me. And I realize that the dream work of the fun of being in a group of people, by the way, the definition is a group of people working towards one goal, is a team. Right? That all boils down to trust. It's really trust is what makes the dream work, right? Because yes, we are a group of individuals, all of us gonna have some purpose together, which makes us, by facto, a team. Mm-hmm. But it's really the trust between us as gentlemen is what really I need to start now putting a lot more time and effort into in trying to, because I do trust a lot, right? So my question to you guys, to the panel, how do you all, when in the first introduction to people outside of yourself that you have to know, they have to accomplish tasks that you can't accomplish. Like for you, for example, you have to now trust the coaches do their job. You have to trust that your teammates do you understand? So my question is, how do you all get over that initial fear and relinquish control to people who are not you?
Well, there's different types of leadership. That's what that would come down to. There's a leader, because every team would, whether it be unknown or elected or someone that emerges, there's always someone that takes lead on whether it be for the entire project, the entire accomplishment, or in parts of it. There's someone that leads, and there are people that may then look to that person. And people that look to that person, whether you're doing it because you are unwilling, like you're apathetic to what is happening, which comes back to the difference between an effective team and one that is just a team by definition. Mm-hmm. Because in that team, you can have your silos, persons who are part of that by either directive or whatever other means, or just seeing what happens and to see how they may benefit. And someone that's really bought into the collective, the actual achievement and what you're going to do. And so if I can speak from a perspective of when I direct a project, I would look, I know as an absolute fact, I'm very clear on that I need a team to do what I need to do. Mm-hmm. The elements that I don't require a team, I make sure that I put in place a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C to ensure that should something go wrong, and in some cases, some part of that link does not affect in the way that I may want it to affect, and realize that the bigger picture may be compromised, you may, and it may be a weakness on my part, I might helicopter manage that particular area. So which is why I liked in particular when Nirad brought up the whole 20% of your best player versus looking at,
10%.
Improving 10% of in your weakest players. Will certainly be more effective in the long run, but sometimes in the shorter term, you really just need to get things going.
So let me
Let me answer your
Sure,
question.
yeah,
too, no?
forgive me.
He asks, how would I gauge trust? One is that I would ask a common sense question. So let me explain what I mean by a common sense question. I could assume that you want the same thing as me. I could assume that, but I still need to ask, because sometimes, and this has happened to me being on a team, not only sport-wise, is that I take for granted because you decide to be on a team, we have the same goal. So when I ask you a question, why are you doing this? Right? So I'll ask that question first. And I don't have to be the leader of the team, but just to find out, but with my teammates, whether it is in a family setting, sports setting, wherever it is, just why are you doing this? And it don't have to be the same thing as me, but just for me to understand. And then 2, I would do observation. Because, they saying actions speak louder than words. So you get to really see what somebody are about based on what they do, not necessarily also what they say. So if you see somebody operating a team again, wherever team it is, a family setting, a business setting, wherever it is, you could watch and see what somebody doing and know. So then I could trust that this person, if every time the team need water, this person, even though it's not their job, they go and do it. I could trust that this person not only would support by water, but they would support, support in a time of need. If I notice this person always early, then I could trust, even though they mightn't be the best skill at whatever it is on the team, but they're always on time. If it has somebody who never miss anything, right? But that comes from observation. So you wouldn't know that on day one, but observation also.
So I want to go back to what I said in the beginning, right? About the link being broken, but you could fix the chain. Trust is built over time because everybody in a team doesn't start at the point at which you meet them in the team. They bring with them a series of life experiences. They bring with them hurt, pain, ego that is bigger in some and smaller in some. But they bring in that with them. So just I'm wearing glasses, you wearing glasses. We probably have, at bet money, we have a different prescription. So the way we perceive things is different based on the lens that we see it through. So I may ask you something, and you may see it as an insult that I ask you that. And in my mind, I'm asking you a question just to understand why you made that decision. Not that I disagree with your decision, I just want to understand so I could learn from you. So for me, it might be a question to learn. And to you, it might be a question of undermining your role or your
attacked.
authority or attacking you. Right? So over time, learning people. And 2, I think leaders have leaders have a disproportionate role in building trust because the leader is in a position of power. The leader could change a team easier than somebody who is in a lower position can, meaning you could take somebody off the team and you could introduce somebody to the team. You could introduce elements to the team dynamics and you could take away elements. You could introduce incentives and you could take away incentives. So the leader, and this is tough, right? I'm not saying I have this right. I get it wrong all the time. I just try to be open to acknowledging that I get it wrong, which I also get wrong sometimes, right? No, it's true. I think anybody who says otherwise would be lying. But the leader then has to try to have the smallest ego because it's your ego that makes you interpret malice. And a lot of times we interpret malice when people just didn't know they did it for the best, with the best of intentions. So to your point, IODK, they want the team to succeed, right? So they feel it is best to put in the best striker at that point in time, even though the striker didn't come training for the week. And really, the message we should be sending to the team is we're a team, And if that's how you treat the team, we're not going to play you today. Just continuing the football analogy, right? But we might win the game. And it might be an important game, or it might be the game that determines the outcome of the season, and we sacrifice the team for that win, then try to rebuild the trust that, okay, this is why we did what we did. So it's not one way to do things and different
But hold on,
circumstances.
as you're using that analogy, right? As we could, because I've seen that happen already. Does it then become, because I know we're kind of straying to, the leader part of it in leadership, but if we come back to the team, is it then a team effort? Because a manager may then make that decision to bench that footballer because of, his lack of discipline. But the team may feel differently. As a team, they may say, nah, but I don't care if the man was late or this attitude.
Yeah.
I know he going to score the goals, and my ultimate objective is to win. That's when you said, what are you here for? They may be looking to get trophies, to get different things, and that's what they're really about. So that whole cohesiveness and yes, making an example might not bode well with the players. So is it then?
But somebody has to take the decision, and you live and die by your decisions, right? Meaning you have to be willing to adjust over time, but you also have to be willing to live with the consequences. Otherwise, you shouldn't be a leader. So you make the best
Will you
decision.
might be an effective leader?
No, you should not be a leader, full stop, if you are not willing to live with the consequences of your action. Go and be a follower, right? Go and let somebody make the decisions and you execute. Now, the other thing is that they're different. I was very fascinated by a theory by a guy in the John Maxwell sort of circle, a fellow called Leoncini. I forget his first name. And he came up with this acronym widget. I forget what each one stands for. But basically what he's saying is that you could break types of work into 6 specific buckets. And if you look at those 6 specific buckets, every single person, if you survey the 6 billion people in the world or however many we have now, everybody likes 2. Everybody is okay at 2. And everybody hates 2. And if you develop a team that doesn't have all 6, the team will not be well-oiled. The team will not be a high-functioning team because you're missing elements. Because a team needs all. So some people do not like leadership. Some people like tasks. Some people enjoy
being
executing tasks.
Okay.
They don't want the responsibility of deciding who needs to do what task. Tell them what to do and they will come to you happy as pappy that they're getting it done. Right? And some people hate that. Some people hate being told what to do. They want the creative freedom. Some people like to energize other people. They like to be the one in the team saying, guys, come on, let's do this. Vibes. And some people hate that. It takes a lot out of them. But the most interesting part, linked, I think, to our discussion on performance, is that if you are good, the 2 things that you're good at, but you don't really like to do, right? So you have 2 things that you like to do and you're good at them. 2 things that you're good at, but you don't really like to do it. Because you're good at it, we as managers sometimes say, well, do that. But you don't like doing it. So if we keep giving you the things that you might be good at, but you don't like doing, don't give you satisfaction, burn you out, you will not function over time.
That's where burnout has happened.
Correct. And then worse if you give people the things they're not good at and they don't like to do. Well, that's where
I will just give, it's a quick digression, but it links with that. You see what that burnout is? Doing some research, I realized that whenever we do things we don't want to do, it causes a stress signal to our nervous system, even though we're good at it. So I'm just adding that. And that's why I learned after years of failure, with failure 1, being part of teams that didn't work, or even being the leader of teams that didn't work. What I realized is I didn't really ask people, what does he really want? I assume things. So once you find out what somebody really wants, or you observe and see what they're good at, and then you have them functioning in that, well-oiled.
Correct.
Well, let me be the devil's advocate here. Because if you're in an environment, and in that specific case, I have brought you in because what I noted you're good at, but which you may, because sometimes you could come into an environment And if we use a football analogy, sometimes you are bought for a particular role, but you want to say be a wing, right wing or play left wing, but you prefer to be a striker, right? But let me move away from the football analogy because not everybody understands football, and you realize that even talking to men. But if you're brought into the environment and I'm brought in to do X, Y, and Z, and while being in the organization, you realize, wow, I really feel better doing this, but we don't have a role for you. And therefore, every day you have to come and do the thing which I brought you in the team to do. How do you then?
Well, I mean, okay, so let's go back to the sports analogy because I think it depersonalizes it in a lot of ways, right? It's like how a player could be underperforming at a club and go to another club, and that player all of a sudden is in the leading goal scorers or the best defenders.
About how that's happened
So
for you.
yeah, it's about, well, the management style. It could be the style of play. It could be what the player is. Some players like defined roles. Some players like to be creative. So it's the same thing. So somebody might go into an organization, and we have friends who would go into an organization last 6 months and not do well, right? And then they go in somewhere else and they're a rock star.
I'll give you an example. I'm working with sports teams because I've done some sports psychology, mental toughness with some teams, right? I remember one guy in a team.
We're looking for someone to volunteer job with, just
we could talk. No, serious, we could talk. He was in the team, and this team, and he wasn't performing well. But this team is they like the sport and the legacy behind the sport. And but when he left, he went to a team where their philosophy is, well, we're going for girls now, right? We good players, we like the fame, and that's what he wanted. So he's a good player, but with the team that wanted the legacy and thing, he didn't perform. But the team that, afterwards we go in and think, because we win. That's why we want to win, So they're working hard in training to win because they want the fame and they want the girls. But that's what is in alignment with him. So as soon as he fall there, reaching that team, skyrocket. So I'm saying that because sometimes, and this, I made that mistake in the past, judging people on what I think they should want, right? Versus being honest about what they really want. And that comes with observation.
And whether it's a good fit. And whether it's a good fit, because what they want is fine. They have their own decision to make and their own choice. But are they if they're not the right fit for what your determination is and what you need from them, then it's a case of having that open, honest communication and parting ways if necessary.
Yeah, so you have those conversations, but that for a leader, that's hard, right? Because you're seeing the talent in somebody and you want to push them, but they don't want that.
Exactly, and
that is hard. That to me is one of the hardest
sometimes
things.
when we push them, like bold-facedness, because we want something for somebody that they don't want. Even though we see, hey, you could be the superstar, you could be the best employee, you could go on to lead in your own company, you could wherever. I see enough for you. But the person saying, I don't want that,
Yeah.
It's like giving somebody a I keep going back to sports, but you're giving someone a captain's armband who does not want to lead. They just want to play. They just want to go on the field and play. And they will motivate others, but they don't want the responsibility of being a captain.
Yes.
You know what I want? To go to break.
All right, good.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Manhood. We're talking about teamwork makes the dream work. Now, whether you agree with that teamwork makes the dream work, or whether your dream is to be a solo achiever, I mean, we're talking about it in the wider form, because without you recognizing it or not, in the immediate sense or in the broader sense, you need a team if you're planning to do anything that's of purpose and achievement and success. I want to go back to something that, Nirad, you mentioned. When you spoke about widget, I actually have it here, where it speaks about wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yep.
So as Nirad had mentioned, with regards to widget, it would be the components that a successful team needs to have. You need to have all six. But then there are people within, you may have people within that team that may like two, but are good at another two, right? If we just summarize
So
that.
you're very good at two,
Yeah.
and you like them. You're reasonably or very good at another two, but you don't really like to do them. And you're very bad and don't like to do two.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
So the six components there are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. Widget.
What would be galvanizing be at that particular?
Yeah, fellas, let me go and do this now,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Come now, fellas, let me get things rolling. Let me
Okay. So
go out there
so
and-
more like the
The vibes.
glue
Yeah.
and the meshing together bonding
Yeah,
type.
so when when the coach rough you up, or when you have a bad performance or whatever, somebody who kind of tries to motivate and lift the team and say,
Okay.
all right, guys, we could.
I'm trying to think about which ones that are. I'm trying to think.
For you.
I think I'm a
So-
discernment.
We have you might surprise yourself. So we have at Amcham, we have members who will come and administer it, and we did it as a team, and it was very eye opening for us. As
Also,
a
it's
team.
a test. Is it like
You do an assessment on it, and then
Gotcha.
you use those results to try and improve your team, or say, you know what, when you hire next, you're really weak in this area on your team. Not that you, the people, are weak. On your team, you're missing this element, so you should try and include this element in the next person you look for.
Well,
Do you find that even in that test, so for example, if it comes up and it says, say for example,
Test is an assessment.
an assessment, so some form of a test.
No, it's a psychometric
All right,
evaluation.
okay, so we're going through semantics here and everybody's going to, right, your answer is going to do his thing, right? So if we come back to Nile, if you're talking about, and in that assessment, right, which is testing your certain abilities and skills or figuring something out, right, to get a better place, and you recognize that within that the person is the person always in receipt of or able to really positively receive what the results are. So, for example, if it comes back and it says Nile wants to be a galvanizer, so to speak, but he doesn't see himself like that.
So that's why, I mean, there are people who are trained in different things, right? So the people who do this for us will then talk us through it. And because you do get some people saying, nah. So they say, well, okay, what about
I don't
that example?
galvanize.
Exactly. So you might actually be discernment, which is, and I'm just guessing here, which is always questioning. So somebody, you might think you're wonder, you come up with the ideas and whatever, when in fact you might be discernment. You might be the person who say, how that gonna work? Why you really come up with that? How are we going to do this? If you are the provocateur,
Gotcha.
you could end up being discernment, and then you'd say, nah, discernment, I'm wonder, I'm the guy who comes up with the ideas and whatever.
Okay.
And then so you start talking
Right.
it through. Well, so give us an example of a project you worked on, right? And you'd say, well, right, so what role did you play? And then as you go through the role, you realize, wait, maybe I am
I'm discernment.
discernment.
Okay.
And then
You
also
know,
some of the things that you're good at, or you think you're good at, maybe by this assessment you realize that you're not really effective.
That's you see that question you asked before, what? That is a real important question, because in somebody work doing to and even observing, I realized that is the separating factor between a great team. And again, I'm not talking only sports, because so you have to question this in a family setting. You have to question this in an organizational setting. But that question is a really good question, and then the answers, because many times, and I observe this with sports
Redefine the
teams.
question for me, please.
The question is that if it have somebody in the team, if they think they are galvanizer, right? Or let me use no galvanizer. If they think they have a specific role, and you realize, according to your assessment, another role is what is strong, that sometimes they can get resistance. Well, nah, I don't want to do that. But even that question of it, because I remember you just said, after you did the assessment, it was eye-opening for you also. And I did a similar assessment.
So just to
already.
put a pin in that, just to be clear, because there are two parts to that. After the assessment, you don't realize not just what you're good at, because as we said, you can be good at something and not what you want to do, and it causes stress. But also, I'm talking about that. So you can realize, okay, this is what you're good at, but this is what you think you want to do. But based on the assessment, it's showing that really when you answer all of these things, you really are saying that you want to do this, which is definitely not what you went in there thinking.
Right. I see that self-insight, that's real important. And many teams don't do that.
Well, strip it back, right? So the inability to self-reflect honestly is what keeps people back.
Correct.
And if
Correct.
people are not their best selves or not able to grow, whether in a team or individually, the team therefore will not become a well-oiled team.
Because, and let me break it down. If you enter in a relationship, like we say romantic, and you don't have the self-reflection, the team won't work. If it is your family doing something, whether it is immediate or extended, it wouldn't work. If you put somebody in an organization, business or otherwise, it wouldn't work. So that question you asked, Robert, that's really important. And understanding that and being honest about that. Because I'll give a sports analogy now. You ever notice how some people, when you're watching football, is a super sub?
Yeah.
They could, but if they start the game, they wouldn't play good enough.
Correct.
Solskjaer, Man United.
Right, but once they are sub, and I was like, why? And doing some analysis, let me use the widget, so the discernment. Sometimes that person needs to sit down and watch the game first. Right? They don't need to play for the first half. So just like in a family, it has some people who, when you go a family line, them only watching. They don't really see anything at the beginning. Right? And I realized in all group, and there's a book called Group Dynamics. If you read that book, the book states that in every group, it has certain personalities that always exist. And I would say yes, because every time I do workshops, not digressing too much, but every time I do workshop, it has somebody who always wants to talk. It has somebody who always quiet. It has somebody who looks disinterested, but they're real listening to everything you're saying, right? It has somebody who will try to disrupt everything. It always have certain personality types in groups. And once you understand that, and you can identify that, and help even the person understand that, hey, like how you say provocateur, I am the disruptor, and he won't be the disruptor, and then you realize, how could we use this disruptor to help the team move forward? So that is the person who would question things to make sure everything good. But the honest part, that is where I'm going with, and I'm coming back to what you're saying. And this is even a theme as we speak as manhood and men. We talk about being honest. We talk about, and those who are watching, every man have to be honest about who they are. And a man, whether you want to say by yourself or be part of a team, the only way you could really be effective in that team is if you honest about yourself and even open to somebody else saying, hey, you think you are this and you're doing this, but I observe this in you. It's not to say that now you're just changing because of the person, but at least you have something new information to consider. And I think that's an important part of, as men, being part of a team. Earlier we talk about ego, right? Sometimes you gotta let our ego go. And I know that easier said than done, because as a man, you come in, I want to do this in the team. This is the role I want to play in my family, in my organization, when in my fet match team or my professional team, I want to be this. But then somebody could say, hey, well, I noticed you're good at this. Nah, this is what I want to do. And then you force your role, and then the whole team follow. Yeah.
And I just want to come back to, again, this, and I don't know the assessment. I'm not saying there's a flaw in the assessment, but I'm just, what I am coming to is, it's the recognizing that we come back to being good at something and someone pointing it out might not be the way that person wants to go. And that's fair, because that's not what they want to, that's not their passion. But it is that aha moment, how in dealing with that, when someone believes that their passion is this, and really based on the scientific evidence, it's not that. And maybe what they're thinking is their passion is flawed in certain ways or skewed, maybe by certain elements of trauma or societal influences, that they think that this is really where I'm at, but based on certain other things that are probably giving them dopamine rushes or serotonin. And the reality is, if you were to clear away all of that, they might really want to be, say they're a footballer, you might really just want to be an artist. Yeah. But the other things that football is giving you is skewing what you really think is your passion.
Yeah. So I mean, so there are two elements that we haven't discussed, right? So one is that a team is a discrete group coming together to achieve a task, but a team exists in a system. So the team interacts with other teams, and the team interacts with other influences, and so we always have to be mindful of that. But the second thing is any team will have a hierarchy, even if it's informal. And part of that hierarchy requires whoever is at the pyramid, at the top of the pyramid of that hierarchy, even if it's a sphere, to be able to make the hard decisions to keep the majority in the team safe and to get the best results, which also means being willing to excise those people in the team who are not willing to play in the team, who are not willing to maybe self-reflect or change or adjust and could undermine the team, because not everybody can be changed in the context of the team that you're in, right? Maybe I don't know if in your field, if they get to you, you could help everybody grow. But in the context of a team where you have objectives and reporting lines, you may not have the time and resources to change everybody. And that is an important element of building trust, and that's why I'm bringing it up. If the leader or leaders collectively are unwilling to take the hard decisions in the best interest of the team, then they will never have the trust and confidence of the entire team. Now,
I want you to build.
Bringing that.
That means sometimes you have to do things that make you feel really inside.
Right. And I want you to build on that, because we're almost to the close, but I want us to refocus, building on what you've just said, and I want you to expand on it. The importance of teamwork and making those hard decisions as a leader, even when the decisions are but also in context to bring it to the individuals who are causing the problem to understand whether or not you're on board at that point, because you don't always end up, a team isn't always something that's voluntary. Sometimes you're in an environment and you get positioned on a team to execute a task.
Yeah. So
what is your role? What is your role then, and a message to go out to persons listening as an individual? What you should be doing, even in a circumstance that you're not very happy with, to make sure that the focus and the team executes its task?
Well, the first thing I'd say is leadership is not a popularity contest, right? I think that if you lead well, more people will like you than not like you, but it's not a popularity contest. So you can't make decisions based on whether you'll be liked or not liked. You have to make decisions that have to be made. I was mentioning to you all as we started, I'm a Hindu, and one person who came into my life explained the Bhagavad Gita in 3 lines, which I love. Right, the Bhagavad Gita is a main text of Hinduism. It tells you how to live life and so on. Long. He says, do what you have to do, when you have to do it, whether you want to do it or not. And I think that like rocked my world when I heard it. Do what you have to do, when you have to do it, whether you want to do it or not.
I like that.
Right? I think that is fantastic. And I try my best to live with that. So I think I've unfortunately over time had to let people go in the different organizations that I'm in, right? Tell them that they can't function in this team. And in many cases, we've had a good relationship after, but in some cases we haven't. And what I try to do is be honest. So I say, try to give people a chance to fix it, explain what the problem is, explain why they are not fulfilling what we expect of them in the team. And in one case, I had somebody tell me that, I said, look, this is what you need to do, right? It was a simple thing. You're in an accounting role, bring down my receivables. They're ballooning, right? And a company cannot function if you don't have your cash coming in from people who are owed, right? If you have sponsors promising to pay and they're not paying, if you have clients not paying, etc. If you have clients not paying, you can't function, right? So this person told me, well, if that's a metric, I will resign. I said, well, that's up to you, but this is what you have to do, and there's a time frame in which you have to show me that you think. So I got a resignation letter. And so I asked them, I said, well, what are you going to do next? And they were shocked. They went and told everybody. I didn't ask them to rescind their letter and whatever. Now, I was glad that they went and told people, because everybody would know I did it.
Right.
And why I did it, right? So, as opposed to this happening quietly and people wondering, I wonder what he did to her, boy, why he did that. I am so glad they did it.
Right.
But the point was, to me, that was an important part of building trust. That's one of the people who doesn't talk to me now, though, by the way.
I figured that.
But you have to do those things because the team has to know that if there's someone who is causing a risk to the team, to the organization, and therefore the team, you have to be willing to stand up. And if you're not,
defend the rest of the
And
team.
I'll give an example opposite to that. I have done workshops where companies ask me to come and do team building because the team not getting along. And after doing an assessment, most times it always have one employee that's causing real problems, but the company don't want to let them go because they're either they're real good at the job or they're a long time.
Or union.
Well, I never encountered it, but union is a good example too. That one person just don't want to let them go, and the team now don't have any trust in the leadership because, well, you're just allowing this person to do whatever they want, and now we can't
because
function.
people are
So
afraid of change. You see,
that's a good point.
We think of the risk of doing something, but we very often ignore the risk of not doing it.
Well, there's that thing, that saying as well, Nirad. If you can't change the people, change the people.
Correct.
And
But
sometimes
that's
that
not what
bold
you
step
want to do, right?
It's not.
You should be trying to change the people before you change the people, right?
Agreed.
But yeah, sometimes you have to. There's no organization that went from stage to stage to stage with the same people either. And some people who are good in one stage are not good in the next stage. And they don't even like the next stage because they like the informality and the lack of procedure and whatever. When you start to put policies and procedures, they're like, whoa. And there's some people who can't function unless they have a policy and a procedure to which they can refer when they're ready.
So that widget is really a key thing for teams to understand, even maybe not in the depths of, through John Maxwell and leadership and so on, but the basics of that to really say that, listen, not everyone, and that's one of my big takeaways from this show here today, is that one, that you need an effective team needs to have all six. What you understand by that, you might use another name from galvanizing. It could be vibes, it could be whatever the case may be. Discernment, you could just say, the understanding, whatever your basic understanding is, but the fundamentals of the six, and to really know that you may be good at something, but not want to do it. And because we see it from where we stand and what our objectives are, we try to force that onto someone or impose that on someone and almost get angry in certain ways when it's like, well, you can't see when you're wasting your talent.
You're so good at this thing.
You're so good at, and not realizing, hey, that it's just
not good at it, but I don't like it.
I just don't like it. And then
you're projecting your wants onto
that. And then on the other side, something that you really want to do from the leader's perspective about making those hard decisions, it's like, well, I can't give you that because Nirad I'm seeing he may be one better, he may be much better at that, and do I need to know, if I can't convince him, try to focus my attention on trying to find ways to get the best out of it, because I have someone who may be a better striker and you're better at defense. And if you don't want to be what I need you to be, then I have to make the hard decision to release you. But in the person that doesn't speak to you anymore, I would say that in your first response, even though it might be in a series of things, I doubt it would have been the first conversation, what that person might have been looking for is, work with me here, as opposed to just, so what you gonna do now, boy? Like,
no, well, remember she started off by saying, if that's the metric, I'm going to resign.
Right.
And that was the metric
Correct.
that I needed. So
He
there was
called
no
her
room.
bluff.
So in the
to
calling of
she
the
didn't say,
bluff.
well, could I do,
Right.
could the metric decrease by this bit
Right.
and I'll work on it and see.
Yeah.
No, it was.
So, but in the calling of the bluff, the person immediately, people want two fundamental things: to know that they're enough and to be loved, right? So
Yeah, but the rest of the team,
agreed.
the rest of the team understood
was
what I
suffering.
did, and it also prevented more of that, I think, in the future.
But as you said, being a leader, sometimes you have to make really tough decisions, and I want everyone to go around and give their closing thoughts, as I did mine, on what I took away from this particular show. And I want that after I read a quote at my point, to end with that three-part. I thought it was very profound.
Yeah, that was good. That was
good. To the nation. So, Niall, you
okay.
understand?
Very eye-opening conversation, gentlemen, I must say, right? For me, my main takeaway is when you said, and you reminded me, I should say, that no matter what organization you're going to have different personalities that you're going to encounter. That to me, that gave me anxiousness. My palms started to sweat, and it dawned on me that they will always have war, right? They will always have personalities that clash no matter what. And the trust that I was talking about is really, it stems from the fact that they will always have people that are unlike my personality. And to go to what you said, is that I realize that me not trusting, I am the weakest link in that situation. And to build the trust of the least trusting person by 10% is better than getting the person who already part of the team up by 20%. So I understand that now, and I reflected that inwards, and I appreciate that. That was really, really eye-opening for me. So, guys.
Well, it just
Thank
made
you.
my day that something I said was useful. When you're a parent, that's like a big win generally, you know. What I would say is, just to take this in the context of the show, the manhood, right, is that we, you know, when you look at these blue zones and so on, the zones in which people live longest, it's about social connections. It's not about food. Food and diet and exercise has a part, but ultimately the distinction or the difference between an average life expectancy of 70 or 90 is about social connections, right? And as men, we have, as communities have changed, we have less opportunities. We have to actively seek the opportunities more to talk and to share and to trust. And it doesn't mean that if we're burnt once or twice that we can't trust ever again. And teamwork, to the point you kept trying to hammer home, Robert, is that teamwork is not just about the active team. So it's not just about the coach or the physio for the athlete. It might be about Granny who gave you your auntie a meal and made you feel safe, made you feel you have a place to go always where you could get some nourishment and encouragement, even if that encouragement is a bamboo or a pot spoon when you misbehave. It is meant from a positive place. It comes from a place of wanting the best for you. And so as men, being willing to share and discuss and to learn and to listen and to self-reflect is really critical. It's for everybody, but men, I think, have a harder time doing that, generally speaking. And it's not easy. And even in saying that, you may not realize how little of it you do. You may say it, you may want to do it, but you may not realize how little of it that you do. And I think that's something that we have to try more deliberately, more intentionally to do on a regular basis.
Okay, men, I think that we are always part of a team, whether we are the team in a marriage, team in a family, team in an organization, team if you're actually playing sports, we're always part of a team. And I think the most important thing is to be honest with yourself first about what part you want to play on the team and why you want to play that part. And fortunately, unfortunately, sometimes we have to take on the role of a leader. And it may not be the leader permanently, but in this thing or this moment or this situation, we have to lead. And being a leader, as you were saying, sometimes you have to make these decisions that you will look like the bad guy. You will be disliked. But sometimes it's for your benefit, your best interest, and the best interest of those that you lead. So as men, and it helped me understand that I'm always part of a team, even if sometimes, and I've done it for people, and I never thought people doing it for me, but I realized sometimes I encounter people, they don't know that I know them. And I admire them or appreciate their work. So I make sure and help them in some way, but I never say anything. So even that, I'm helping them, I'm part of their team, even if it's unbeknownst to them. And I never even thought that people may be even doing the same thing for me. So that was, and I think Robert brought up that point about you're always on a team, you never know. So thank you, Robert, for that, and then everybody bringing it together. And those who watching men, we're always part of a team.
So this is a team that we bring about manhood on a on a regular basis, and I'm always proud of the team and always proud of the members that come in and out. And one of the things that as we started off by talking about teamwork makes the dream work, and a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and we've dissected that and spoke about it in the various understandings of that. But what I would say in that understanding and in this closing is to say that in that weak moment, in that weak part of a chain, that weak part of it can be strengthened, but it can also bring about exactly what it means, weakness to that particular team. So there's weak that can be strengthened and weak that simply needs to be removed. I want to read a quote, and as I said, Nirad, I want you to end with that,
Sure.
that part. But just to read this quote very quickly, and I know I'm taking time because I don't have my glasses.
You could edit. It's sure we could edit it out.
To say, we don't edit on this show. We don't edit on this show. We don't. This we being real. We
But then hurry
developing
up and
trust,
find the thing.
right? So we developing trust there. So a boat doesn't go forward if each one is rowing their own way. I like that one. And then I want to say, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. So I want to close with that to say, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. So Nirad, if you could just look at
Sure.
our audience.
I just want to take a second to recognize Richard Tong, who was part of my team in my early career when I was at TV6 and who is producing the show today. Do what you have to do when it needs to be done or when you have to do it, whether you want to do it or not. I think that's powerful.
Very.
Take care, guys.
Now Johanse, this is a look we're very excited about. It made a full comeback. The classic double breast blazer, peak lapel, detailing. You can see the pocket square matches some of the buttons, but it's very elegant in terms of how you wear it. So we paired it with the khaki pants, white shirt. You notice the last button is unbuttoned. That's the way it's supposed to be. However, you can button it if you like. It's acceptable, just like you do a double breast suit. Now, the other option with this, we just paired it with a white shirt and a khaki pants. You can switch it around: pink shirt, light gray, medium gray pants. So there are many options with this wear, and it's really acceptable worldwide. Any conference meeting you go to, business meeting, it's a look that has never really gone out of style, but it's made a full comeback, and we're excited about it, Johnson. You look presidential in this look. Now, Johanse, I'm going to go through some of the details of this particular jacket. So, first of all, we have the outer hand stitch. It's called a hand stitch, right? Very classic Italian look. The buttons, again, gold and black. You have the crest. The pocket square, we've done it this way. Turn it upside down, gives it a floral pattern. It matches the buttons. Again, you can take this and flip it. All of a sudden, you have a different look. Beautiful navy blue, classic business wear for conferences and meetings.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon's Bespoke.